Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I think it's the first time we've done this, to be honest, in about a week and a bit. It's just how the fixtures have fallen. We're back with another episode of the debrief. What's going on in your world? Let us know in the comment section below. If you haven't already, please check out the the little bit of a debate that me and Gabriel had yesterday on Sunday. Listen, I set him up in the perfect way forward. Got on the blower. I said, Gabe, look, mate. We're going into this week. They're all getting on me for Joseph. I'll let you off Peru and I'll try and defend Joseph. So the exact same thing went on. So, and I give him a little bit of a setup there. You know, we could have changed scenarios a little bit there, but I let the American boy have his flowers for that one. So, yeah, no, listen, all jokes aside, everybody, go check that out. Gabe did so well. He's been off the channel for a while, and someone put it in the comment section below as well. He's crystallized when he comes back and just puts his occasional comments in there, and we don't have to hear his incessant whining on a weekly basis. Make sure you slap in a like on the video. We've got two of the special ones in tonight as well. Evening, mate. How's it going? Yeah, cold, wet, and dreary, isn't it? Jams in the building as well. Do you want an honest answer? Mate, give us a joyful one. And make sure you're slapping on a like on the video, everyone. Head on over to the Patreon as well. As always, this video is sponsored by IPM Group UK. Everybody, your leaders in Leeds United CCTV and security. Keep it in the Leeds United community with Rick and the gang. Very, very favourable rates. Link in the description below. Without any waiting, just getting into a few comments as well. A few in there. Hello, regulars. What's going on? Without any further ado, Oscar Marriott, and we are joined once again by this beautiful Irish stud. Darren joins us from Only Leeds Bros. And yeah, Oscar's back in the building. Fellas, what's going on? Daz, you're becoming a bit of an annoying regular now, mate. Oscar's now. I'm not seeing Oscar enough, so I'll go to him first, mate. Oscar, what's going on, mate? All good?
All good, mate. All good. Obviously, disappointing weekend for us, but ultimately, the main thing is this season, we're still on course to do what we set out to do at the start of the season. We're still in great form. We made a load of changes. I'm fairly confident it's not going to impact things too badly on the league form, although that could be famous last words. But yeah, I never want to lose a game. Really didn't want to go out to Millwall at home, but yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. I'm all good.
Good man, good man. If we do see anyone creeping on your conservatory, mate, we will let you know.
Give me the warning.
Domston's converted over to the YouTube gang as well. We're getting a lot of Twitter users. Domston, make sure you head on over to YouTube, create an account. Everybody, it's free. Make sure you subscribe to Only Leeds Bros, and of course Oscar at All Leeds TV. Of course, Nigel's in the building, Scott's in the building as well. And yeah, Steve's in the building as well. The panel is cooking, as the youngsters say these days. Yeah, Jamie, who came on the show not long ago, and I think me and Daz genuinely thought he was 23 years old. Turns out he's 33. Don't know what he's eating down in Wales, but there we go. Something good in the water, right, lads? What I don't want to do too much is focus on the FA Cup. So what I'll do is get your brief thoughts on it. Everybody in the chat, let me know as well. Let's just briefly get into it. How are we feeling is kind of what I want to get really over it. It was gee whiz. It was I didn't even predict, and I've been on this social media thing with Leeds United and YouTube thing for a long time now. I didn't expect that reaction. I have to say, nibbled maybe a little bit as well. I'll hold my hands up for the first time in a long time. The comments got to me a little bit. I will say that. I don't think I could quite believe the hysteria after a 2-0 loss to Millwall in the Cup. I wasn't really that bothered about it. Said it at the start on the watch along. Daz, mate, where were you at with it? Were you disappointed? We're all disappointed out when Leeds United lose a game, but context applied now, mate. Focus on the league, innit?
Yeah, look, initially when it's over, did a watch along, you're frustrated. You can't not be frustrated after that, especially the way we played it. It had a little bit of a Borough feel to it in the League Cup, didn't it? When we went out against them with kind of a bit of a whimper, especially at home, Ellen Road, against them lot as well. You don't really want to be bet, but kind of now that the dust has settled down and it's kind of like, yeah, it's one of them. Like, we're out. You can kind of see them lapping it up. I seen their Twitter reposted play Leeds are falling apart again and all that. So yeah, let them kind of have their moment. But yeah, they come to Ellen Road in a couple of weeks, and I'm sure we'll get our own back when we have our full starting 11 back in. Yeah,
it does feel like that. It's very look, I get that they're having a good little scenario now. I understand that Millwall, they're kind of building a bit of momentum, Oscar, aren't they, together with Alex Neil? But I felt the The Femi Azaz play Leeds are falling apart again. I don't know. I felt we were more insular about it. We were more bothered about certain personnel within our ranks. I'll be honest, and maybe this is a little bit arrogant of me. I didn't even really look at Millwall. I was thinking, right, well, the 10 that have come in, who am I happy with? Who am I disappointed with? Could this feature in the match day? Could somebody come in? Am I disappointed with X, Y, and Z? I'll be honest with you, mate, and maybe this is just my care for the FA Cup right now, which I will admit has gone through the floor. I just wasn't really that interested, and yeah, I wasn't really that bothered by the Millwall thing, but it did make a tasty affair on the 12th when they come back up.
Yeah, of course it does. Absolutely no doubt about that at all. You don't want to go out in that manner. There's no question about that. If you had to choose how to go out, it's probably how we went out to Chelsea last year, really, in terms of giving a good account of ourselves, really pushing a Premier League team all the way, and just falling short and being able to focus on the league. And I never want Leeds to lose a game. I'll never be happy with Leeds losing the game. But the big picture is here, is that we've got a lot of football to play. We know we're not going to rotate a lot. We haven't tended to do under Daniel Farke. And it is going to be probably, sort of the same sort of 13 or 14 players kind of playing for this team between now and the end of the season. Maybe you can add some players who might come off the bench from time to time. But the most frustrating thing for me is the players that got their opportunities didn't take them. I think it goes across the board, this one. I'm a Joseph stan. Connor, you're also a Joseph stan. It's at an all-time low. I can't lie.
Opening that can of worms.
I mean, the fact Perot, listen, I'm absolutely buzzing that Joel Perot is on the goal-scoring run. He's only 2 goals off the golden boot at this moment in time. And there's definitely no question about it in terms of the gap. If you're talking like, say, the gap between Perot and Joseph in terms of perception, I don't think it has been bigger throughout either player's time at the club. I think obviously Perot is in a great run of form, and Joseph, unfortunately, isn't in a great run of form. And you have to just be realistic about it in terms of Joel Perot is playing better at this moment in time. I've got no problem at all in admitting that. I'd much rather both play well. And I'm a fan of what both players offer. But I think in the here and now, there is no question about it. Even when we've got a lot of football to play, Joel Perot is going to be starting for Leeds, certainly for the next couple of weeks at the very least. And I don't think there's much threat to his place at this moment in time. And it wasn't just Matteo Joseph. I can look at Wilfred Gnonto. You can look across the team, really. Guy Livogi, again, I feel a little bit sorry for Guy Livogi because it's just not happening for him, really, when he has started the Harrogate and Millwall games. Unfortunately, you're kind of seeing that a few players, I'm not necessarily going to say there's a reason they're not playing, but they're just not at the level of the players who are ahead of him in the team. Isaac Schmidt played as well.
I thought he was a massive positive.
Yeah, I did think he was positive. But the issue is, unless we're going to switch him over to left back, he's not going to get ahead of Jaden Bogle anytime soon. I do actually think that Schmidt, and I think Firpo as well, is ahead of Schmidt as well. But I think he's the only player I can look at and think, positive performance against Harrogate as well, and positive performances when he has come off the bench. But that's the most frustrating thing for me. I think if we lost the game, and you can say he looked like a bright spark. Even you look at Carl Darlow, for example, as well, on the second goal. I know it took a deflection. Should save it for me. Really, really should be saving that. I'm thinking if Melee lets that one in, we're as critical. And ultimately, if you look at the likes of Darlow, Joseph, they are going to be waiting on that bench for a couple of weeks at the very least.
I think that's a really good point, mate. And I'm going to have to double down on something. Well, double down, it's probably the opposite. But I'm going to have to say something as well when it comes to, those players. Gnonto, I didn't really express it enough in the post-match because I kind of wanted to put a bit of a positive spin on it, really, in terms of just that secondary option for that 10 role. I think Aronson's got it sewed up, obviously, but I know we can do a bit more rotation there, maybe Solomon in there, but we didn't really see it against Harrogate. You have to say it wasn't like a loud performance from Solomon in that 10. Gnonto, again, it wasn't a loud performance in that number 10. Maybe the next option, if Aronson is out, is to maybe try Ramazani in there, although I don't think Gnonto was too bad. But yeah, all in all, he wasn't good enough, even though he's probably the most creative player, but that still isn't good enough for his level against Millwall. And it was a rotated Millwall side. And Joseph expressed it on the watch along. Wasn't good enough. Was not good enough in that game whatsoever. And I completely agree with you. I think Gilavoggi, I'm not giving him that many flowers for that. I think he's had 2 performances now, of which I've looked at, and two proper performances where I've looked at, and I thought I'm just not. It's the first touch. It's build up. It's just not quite there in a really quick.
There's no question with Guy Lavoggy, just to say there. I think you can see the footballing IQs there. I think you can definitely see that. I just think in terms of probably a lack of sharpness as well. I just don't think he's the actual what's the word for it? I'm trying to think of the word for it. The actual
that's probably the Oscar overall. Just putting a cap on that. It's the consistency of performance, and I think that is the context that I think I was trying to get over at the weekend. It's very difficult to, and I've just mentioned that about Guy Lavoggy, but it's just maybe a playing style of which, when he's got the ball at his feet, I don't think he expresses himself enough in terms of. I think he does go for the safety options. I think maybe he didn't show enough for the ball, and I think that just is being a bit brave. And in that Leeds United midfield, you cannot just sit back, go into a back through, which I felt he was doing a little bit to hide from the ball. He can't do it. You got to show for the ball. Like, to be fair, Gruev, Tanaka, and Ampadu do. And I think that was the problem with me with him at the weekend. It was just maybe not showing enough for the ball. But just let's not touch on him too much. But I think I agree with your overarching point there, mate. Daz, just solidify this for us, mate. It didn't feel like any Leeds player, maybe aside from Schmidt, which we've said before, has come in and really done anything to displace any of that starting 11, really.
I think that's the most disappointing thing for me, Connor, as well. I had a chat as well with Dylan after the game, and it's not so much, look, you never want to lose football matches, but before the game, I was looking forward to seeing a little bit of rotation. Even Farke's press conference, when he said, look, it's not going to be one or two, it's going to be a few, I was kind of rubbing my hands going, yeah, look, I do want to see these players play football. When the team lineup came out, I didn't disagree with it. I was actually happy to see it. I was happy enough seeing young Sam Chambers get a go. You obviously look at it, you see Guy Lavoggy in there, you're hoping that he's not going to go into centre half. Straight away, you see him start in the midfield. So it looked like a positive sign, and it was definitely decent players in there that could have went and win the game. But it's like what you say, Connor, the disappointing thing in the whole thing was the way they performed. And I think we've all kind of played football at any type of level at all. When you're not really in the team and the manager gives you that chance, to come on, you should have that little bit between your teeth, to kind of stake your claim, win a show to get back into the starting 11. And I don't think any of them did it yesterday. And probably the reason why we haven't seen them in the team, like would you say, Isaac Smith was good, and I thought Sam Chambers did himself favours as well. The rest of them were below par. I was really disappointed in Ramazani because I thought he would have lit it up yesterday. He just couldn't show his quality in the game, could he?
No, he couldn't. And yeah, you are right. And it's all well and good and I mentioned this, and it's probably maybe a little bit of a fallback on myself. Well, it's I was mentioning that we're building up on that right hand side. Well, I think as a football player as well, you can go and demand that ball, and in that maybe central space, that left space, you can go and have a word with the centre back or the left back, and you can have a conversation about building up on that side, unless it was a managerial instruction, which I can't imagine it would have been, to build up on that right hand side, in all fairness, when you've got two more experienced players collectively in Byram and Ramazani on that left, and maybe that needed a little bit more leadership from that point of view from other players on that pitch. But yeah, let's just get into a couple of comments on the performance. Steve says, moving forward from now till the end of the season, we definitely have to keep up the same squad we've had for Cardiff. Ian says, I've said players have their flat periods. Being young makes it harder to handle pressure and not to over-try, Joseph. Yeah, I think it's probably, and maybe it bothered me a little bit more, people just really going for him at the weekend. I just didn't think that was justified, to be honest.
It was over the top, I thought. Totally over the top.
I thought unfortunately, there's a large, I think there is unfortunately a large portion of our fan base who want to see him fail, which I think is very, very sad to be proven right. Look, we can all be right, we can all be wrong, but we want to see him succeed, don't we? Even players that you don't favour. And unfortunately, I felt the knives were there, ready for Joseph with a bad performance there, to be honest with you.
I wouldn't say it's so much that, personally. I think it's more just the expectation level of Joseph coming into this season. I think for all of us, I mean, I admit myself, I thought Joseph will 100% get 20 goals going into the season.
I did.
Seeing the form in pre-season. And I think that's the biggest issue, is the fact that I think there's always a fear in terms of, if you look at, say, for example, I think you've seen Joffrey Gelhardt get mentioned as well, in terms of that expectation level was built so high. And then obviously when you see the player not necessarily reach that potential straight away, I think that's part of it as well. I think it's just that really Matteo Joseph, where he's at, 20 years old, second season, sort of senior football, probably his first proper season of senior football. This is kind of what you expect. You're going to have highs and lows. And to be fair, he has had some highs this season. The start of the season, we make a really solid start with him in the 9, and it's just a drop off that you kind of expect. But with the level he showed in pre-season and in a Chelsea away game, and every single time before this run of form, he'd come on the pitch, he had made a positive impact. I think it's more that, really. I think the expectation level was that of he's going to be Spain's future number 9, rather than he's a youngster having his first season properly. Really, we're not a mid-table championship team. Every single game for us this season really, really matters, kind of thing. It is literally, we win this or we drop to 4th, kind of thing. It has been that all season. So,
well, I think Jason's right as well. He's saying Joseph is trying too hard. Brownie made that point a couple of weeks ago, and I think he's actually seeing more of Joseph. He's spot on, really. I think there's a couple of moments as well. The ball was fired across the box, and there was no one there to tap it in. It was inside the 6-yard box, and I thought to myself, "Where is he?" I had a little bit of a player cam. I had a look at where he was. He's about 10 yards ahead of that halfway line, and I'm thinking he's just trying so hard to be everywhere, to be that link up, but we know his perceptive movement in the box is very good, so he needs to be inside there as well. Brownie made the point as well, as a former attacker in the Football League, that he just needs to stay within those constraints and let the rest of the players do that work and just try get your tap in, try get something. I think one thing that I was disappointed with him, and maybe it was a rank pulling thing, which we've all seen playing football, lads, is maybe the fact that he didn't take that penalty. And I felt that was a real opportunity for him. And maybe that's just the confidence level he's got at this moment in time. Who knows?
I mean, it's even another discussion point, the fact that Pascal has missed 2 of his last 3, I think, penalty-wise. I think he missed the one at Cardiff, obviously scored the one against Blackburn. That is another source of contention in terms of who takes the next penalty, and I think it probably will be Perot now. I think probably Pascal will get taken off penalty-taking duties now, but I agree with you. I think at that point in the game, I think Joseph maybe could have taken it. I understand why he didn't. I understand. I know the modern game, we do have designated penalty takers, but I think that was an opportunity.
Was there another one though, Oscar? I'm sure there was another one where Joseph's been on the pitch and Pascal's took it. I'm sure there has. And I was saying that game.
Probably Cardiff.
I think it was Cardiff,
Right, yeah.
He started Cardiff, because Perot came on and scored against Cardiff. When we had the penalty, was Strike to take it. That was my first ever Leeds away day, and we were all a little bit shocked when we seen Strike come up to take it, and when you see him miss it. But I'm probably a little bit more kind of the old-fashioned kind of type of managers that I grew up in playing football, that it was always a striker to take the penalty, where you're letting centre-halves take penalties. So, it should be Charles. We should be taking responsibility there.
Do you know what it is, Daz? Someone said to me on one of my comments as well, they went, can you imagine Boom Song taking the penalty off Alan Shearer at Newcastle back in the day? Maybe not. I don't think so. You know what I mean? Dab his ass. I don't think so. Tight as bramble. Maybe that's something more an ability. But going forward, lads, obviously 10 changes that were made. Millwall made it compact. They made it difficult. They played well. I guess the positive for Leeds is we outstripped them when it came to XG still. We had our opportunities, didn't we? I thought Chambers should have scored at least one of his chances, in my opinion. I thought, obviously we had a couple of decent efforts from Ramazani. We had that penalty miss. Amongst all the... I'd say Millwall probably edged it, maybe. In fact, I think that's a fair way of putting it. I think, that's the eye test, but you look at the stats, and maybe Leeds were the team who were edging towards it. But, football's a game played on paper, isn't it? So I guess it wasn't all bad, 10 changes. Maybe it's just like Oscar said, Daz, it's the expectation right now. It's the fact that it's so through the roof. We've lost one game in 15, I think it is. We've had 6 clean sheets on the bounce. It's one of those when you lose 2-0 unexpectedly at home, really, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that wasn't in the rule book.
Yeah, it is exactly what you said, Conor. We're just not used to losing at the minute. What's the 3 losses in the league as well this season, in the cup as well. So we're not used to losing. So when it does roll around, which is not very often, it does hurt. But I think like that, it is in the cup. We take it and we move on. The league is our bread and butter, 100%. But yeah, it is kind of one of them. When you look at the 10 changes, it's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot of players going out on the pitch all at once that haven't played together and only trying together week in, week out. You can't replace that match football. And, the synergy, the relationships that you build up. You've seen Smith and young Sam Chambers doing okay together, but it's just not right. And kind of you play football as well, and if you had your centre midfield partner with you that was taken out through injury or just wasn't there that week, and you had someone else coming in playing beside you that doesn't do the running or, wants the ball all the time or is coming into your position, it all has a knock-on effect. So 10 changes is absolutely massive, but it's still not taking away that there was unbelievable quality on that pitch there yesterday. It should have been a bit better, but it wasn't. But I probably do put it down to what you said, the 10 changes, which I don't blame Farke on, because I think it had to be done. I think it had to be done with our schedule at the minute, the massive games that we have coming up as well. The priority had to be the league. He probably didn't want to do it. We've seen him saying it before, and especially after Middlesbrough when he made them wholesale changes as well at Middlesbrough. He said as well that he didn't want to do it, but he had to. He had to do it for the football club. So it's one of them. Yeah, we take it and move on.
Telly says, shout out to you, Telly, as well. Pascal penalties experiment should now end. Yeah, it was quite nice. I thought when he started coming in, and he was like, "Oh, we kind of saw these go in," and he was very calm, wasn't he? I have to say, when he stepped up at the weekend, I didn't think there was any confidence even in his stride. And I knew he was going to miss that. And it was the symptom of the day, of course, Leeds. It just didn't ever feel we're going to win that game. But he didn't step up with a lot of conviction. I think, like Oscar's quite rightly said, I think we've seen that a couple of times now. Ian says, yes, I'm a big Joseph fan. Patience and help for him support during this delicate time. Otherwise, we'll lose another young talent. Yeah, Riley says this is why Farke needs to play the rotational players for more than 15-minute cameos. We may be relying on some of these players. I guess that's a really good point as well from Riley, isn't it? It's the fact that if these players are maybe coming in a little bit cold, then we're relying on sort of very similar performances to what we're getting from our starting 11, albeit they're trying to prove a point. Completely understand that, but these other players have proven it through consistency, haven't they, lads? So it's getting up to that level and that smoothness in performance.
No question about it. And just to add to the Pascal point about the penalties, is I wouldn't want Pascal to take another penalty purely for the fact that if he misses another one, and say it's for we're 1-1 against, I don't know, Watford tomorrow night kind of thing, and it's to win the game, that could really start to hurt his performances in terms of confidence in his own performances defensively, where he starts overthinking things. When he's just defending or trying to play the ball at the back, not taking penalties, when things like that happen, it can really, if he does take another one, that does worry me a little bit from that point of view. But you look at it and, we haven't really rotated this season. And I think it's maybe games like this where it does tell, in terms of where the likes of Ramazani, we clearly know Ramazani's a far better footballer than what he showed against Millwall. But I think that's just a symptom of the fact that he's only kind of getting sort of 15, 20 minutes tops, off the bench kind of thing. And listen, the way we've done things is similar to what Bielsa did in terms of Bielsa didn't really tend to rotate a lot, and it worked for us great then. And to be fair, it's working for us great at this moment in time. It's just, if we do have an injury, you need, say if Solomon got injured, you need Ramazani to come in and straight away be on the pace, straight away be at the level of Solomon. No kind of like 1 or 2 games to get up to speed in the situation we're in. And that is a slight concern where we haven't maybe rotated as much. But I think whatever way you play it, if you rotate too much, you don't have that chemistry, as Daz has alluded to. All of a sudden you've got different midfield partners, different players are doing different things, different players are making different runs, and all these different bits and pieces. But there's positives and negatives to the approach. I do think, likes of Ramazani probably should be starting more games when we can. But listen, I'm not going to argue too much when we're 5 points. 5 points clear of third.
You're right, 100%, mate, 100%. A little bit.
It feels like something we could come back to in 3 or 4 games time, where we moan a little bit more heavily about it potentially. Hopefully not. Hopefully that's me just being overly negative.
We don't.
It feels like something that's going to become a bigger thing in a few weeks' time, where we look back.
We don't moan on this, mate. We don't moan on this channel.
All positive.
Never.
All positive, aren't we? Telly says Watford are a real threat. Right, well, let's get into this. Would you take a draw on Tuesday? It's almost like 2 simultaneous posts that they've maybe burned.
This is because of one player.
Yeah, I mean,
he's an amazing footballer, but this is because of one player for me with Watford.
Well, yeah. So obviously, you guys know the general channel as well. Make sure you check it out, everybody, as well. Link will be in the description. But I mean, I did a bit of a thing with Betfred today, and I had to do a bit of research as well on Watford. Because, believe it or not, I'm not watching Watford week in, week out. But I have always thought that when you do see Watford, and in the last 3 they've lost. In the last 5 games they've lost 3. I think on their day, and this can be attributed to a lot of teams, obviously, but I think on their day, with the amount of athleticism they have, Deli Bashiru, Ince in there, loser, with that wonderful goal at the weekend, and he's been excellent since November. Sissoko, obviously, albeit maybe a little bit past it, but we know he's got legs. Kiembe's in there as well, and Chad Fatadze. I think in Chad Fatadze, they've genuinely got one of the best ball carriers from a midfield position, probably in the league, if not the best. I think Rothwell's up there in terms of a ball carrier getting forward, but Chad Fatadze, for me, is probably the best ball carrier from the midfield in the league right now. I think he's probably the only person, and look, football is played with 11 players. It's not just going to be Chakvetadze, but what it is I feel like it's a player who, if you're almost building the team around, you've got facilitators in around him, like Borough do a little bit with Hayden Hackney, with Morris in that midfield when they're trying to exploit teams through that central space. I think with him, I think the likes of Loser, I think the likes of Kiembe all know that he's the man, really. And, if you get him playing, you get him Watford playing. And I think the big thing about them is they've got so much quality in that midfield, Oscar, which is probably where I'd push back a little bit, mate, from you. I think Deli Bashir on his day is excellent. Loser, as I say, from November onwards has been very good. And obviously the main man, I think on their day, they have the potential to really, really hurt any team. And we nearly saw it the weekend. Towards the back end of the game, Sunderland were dominant, should have won the game. But there was about 60, 65 minutes in that game where it was extremely even, and Watford were right in it to take it away from them. So I think this is a game of which, and we've got experience, lads, haven't we, of last season in and around this point where we went down there, obviously Emmanuel Dennis show, of which the athleticism in the midfield, in particular, I thought in that game, we just couldn't deal with it. And this is a completely different Leeds in terms of that midfield structure. Of course it is. It's I think, I don't know why, I've just got a feeling that this is going to be a tough game. But I guess the advantage that we have right now is we rotated 10 players. Watford have just gone to Sunderland and played hours after us in a league game and have exerted a lot out there, and they've not rotated. It's been their full strength side. Days later, they're coming back down, playing against Leeds, the best team in the division. And it's a real task for them. They're trying to get in the playoffs as well, so it's a pressure game for them in 10th. Oscar, I'll come to you first, mate. I know you're gonna. Maybe you seem to think it's one player only. I'll probably push back.
It's more in terms of the comment about the taking a draw. I still don't think we should be going to Watford, and I think it's a game we should be 100% confident of going there to win. But they have got other, no doubt about it. They've got other good players, but Chakvetadze, and it's no sort of disrespect to the other players. I just think he's that good. I think he's a Premier League footballer in the Championship, to be honest. I think if you put him in a team that was in the top sort of 4 or 5, he'd be putting up numbers, probably the best numbers in the league in terms of number 10s. I do genuinely believe that. He's the only player I've looked at this season at Ellen Road where I thought he's ran a game on his own in that second half. We could not get a touch of the ball for as large spells in that second half, and we kind of got away with it. That's probably the only time this season where I thought Tanaka has lost his individual battle in midfield, so he just could not get near Chakvetadze in the second half of the game. And they have definitely got other players, and actually rate Tom Cleverley as well. I know he's going through a pretty tough spell. Watford are going through a tough spell, but ultimately, there's no question about it. Watford have had a pretty good season considering where they were last season. And you only have to look at the game last season where we went to Vicarage Road, similar-ish time of the season, maybe a little bit later on in the season. But again, we were on a great run. Watford weren't on a great run, and we got sort of a bit of a lesson. I know we drew in the end in the game, but we could have easily lost it. And definitely not putting Watford down at all. Watford could definitely get a result tomorrow, but we definitely can't be going to away games and be settling for points now. I think we still need to keep that buffer the same as it is, 5 points. Even if it has to be a scrappy one, which it probably will have to be tomorrow. I don't think it'll be like Coventry, where we play really good free-flowing football and it works in our favour. I think Watford will have spells in the game, but I definitely think no away games we can be going into thinking a draw is a good result, personally.
No, I agree with that, even though the notion normally is a point away from home you take, but in the position Leeds are at right now, you've got, because we've not extended that buffer enough, have we really, right now? And we need to start doing that. And we're just going to get into the week that's coming up, the complexion that I think is the biggest in the Championship season right now. It's a massive, massive week in terms of football for all 4 sides. Is it, Daz, one for you, mate, where you're kind of looking at it and thinking, even with all their athleticism there, Leeds have had 10 changes. Let's look at the basics here. We've had 10 changes going into Millwall. They've had more of a rest. We've got more quality across the pitch. I think for me, Leeds went into that Watford game last season maybe a little bit complacent, with a lack of tenacity, aggression, and I think we respected, weirdly, Watford a little bit too much in that game. We allowed them to implement their game onto us. It feels like it might be a little bit of a different game to what it was at Ellen Road, maybe, or it could be extremely similar. What's your thoughts on it, mate?
Yeah, I probably disagree with you a bit, Connor. I'm a little bit worried about it with the way it was at Ellen Road. We obviously get the 2 lucky goals. Let's be real, their keeper, he was poor on that day, and that's when Ramazani obviously got the ankle injury. He went off after that, and I thought as soon as Ramazani went off, it went a little bit downhill in that game. And exactly like what Oscar said, we were losing the battle in the midfield, and they had the better of it. They were very, very unlucky, I think, not to nick a point at Ellen Road. But I do think tomorrow, I do agree with Oscar. I can't see it being free flowing like what we did see at Coventry. I do think we'll probably go the usual kind of defensive. I think Grove will come back into the midfield. I think he'll probably put Ampadu back in there, and I think we'll see Strike come back into the centre back position. So I do think he's going to go solid in there, especially given the quality that they have coming through the middle of the park. That's the way I think we will set up tomorrow. But there's no denying, and I agree with you guys, there's no way we should be going into any game thinking we should just go down there and get a point. And like what you said, Connor, that's kind of the rhetoric, isn't it? Win your home games, draw your away, and it's fine. It wouldn't be the worst result in the world. I would just like us to win it, knowing what's ahead. Going into that game with Sunderland and Sheffield United with a win on your back, you're full of confidence. Kind of banishes Millwall as well, any kind of hangovers that we may have from that as a club. Just get rid of it and go into them 2 games, free flowing. We've seen how massive momentum can be. Winning as a habit when you're winning games of football, it's very, very hard to stop. And I do think if we go down there and we're kind of stifled a little bit or born nil or draw like Burnley, might just stunt our momentum a little bit. So yeah, I want to go down there and win the game of football. I don't think it's going to be easy. I do think it is a potential banana skin, but we've more than enough quality, and especially coming off that bench as well, that we do have more than enough quality to win this game and change the game if it's not going our way.
Yeah, I think you bang on. I think you've got to go into there, and I guess it's right to talk about the complexion right now. Burnley with some very decent games coming up. Sunderland obviously have got Luton, I think at home it is, and then we don't want to talk beyond this game, but you kind of have to do. I think it's probably going to be the most dangerous game Leeds are going to face on Monday night in Sunderland. There's still rumours that Watson might be back in contention and Mundle, which then obviously is the possibility of maybe Enzo Lafay going central, which I don't think a lot of us want to see. But, they have... I think they're probably going to be the most aggressive team that's going to come to Leeds. I could be wrong, but I think Sunderland have to win. I think Sunderland have to win that game at Ellen Road to be in with maybe winning the league. I think if that's the objective, I don't know what it is, but if Sheffield United pull away again tomorrow night, we pull away. Sorry, the day on Wednesday night, we pull away. Potentially tomorrow, even get a point. I think Sunderland have to beat Leeds United. They absolutely have to beat us. And I guess it's getting to that point now of which if we beat Watford, then we go into that game full of confidence, full of beans for an absolute war of attrition, lads, which that game's going to be. I mean, I'll just get your thoughts first, Daz, before we go to Oscar. But it feels like, that's going to be, that's the game, isn't it, on Monday night, of which Leeds need to go into there with a little bit of verve.
Yeah, look, I kind of think they have to come up. They have to go for it now, don't they? That's a massive game. They'll be looking at that, and I don't think they leave out behind. I can't see them setting up to kind of defend. I think they're going to come out and really, really try and get at us and put us under pressure. It's a massive game, but I'm confident, and I always am confident at Ellen Road, Connor, because we've been so good there this season. Apart from the cup games, and even at Burnley when we did lose, we were good against Burnley as well. I'm confident at Ellen Road. I really am. Like we're blowing teams away there. The football that we've seen being playing at Cardiff as well, I think we've probably seen us hitting full stride, and I'm confident that we are eventually getting there. We've kind of all been saying all through the season. Every Leeds fan you talk to said that we haven't really got out of second gear. We've been in neutral. I feel like now we're hitting that, especially in the league over the last couple of weeks. There's teams where we don't have to get out of second gear. Your Sheffield Wednesdays, your Norwich, Cardiff. I thought we hit full flow. Coventry were good as well. Just didn't have our shooting boots on in the day. So we'd be going in that full of confidence, but as you said, it's a massive, massive game. And I do think if Leeds come out of both Sunderland and Sheffield United unscathed without losing to either, I don't think that's a bad return. You want to win games of football, but if you're kind of keeping that same gap with them and they're not gaining anything on us, I think that would be really, really good.
And it could also go, you've got Burnley with a couple of decent home games. I think it's home games coming up. I think they've got Hull coming up. I'll just have a quick look at the fixtures here. Burnley, they've got Hull at home. Yeah, then they've got Preston away. And then they've got Sheffield Wednesday at home. So you're kind of looking at those games in particular, and then Luton at home. So you're looking at those games in particular, and we know Burnley have had a couple of struggles, but they're there and thereabouts, aren't they? And I feel the big weekend is probably for Sheffield United. They've got Borough, and Sheffield United have looked terrible. They've got the wins though, 5 out of 6 wins, but they've looked really poor. I mean, Portsmouth battered them at the weekend. I don't know if you guys have seen that yet. They battered them. So it's
been the case of a lot of games.
But it's it's getting to a point now, isn't it, where in this week, lads, you're looking at it, and if Sunderland can get a couple of wins under the back, if they come and do Leeds, or Leeds get 2 wins on the bounce, or it can all shape shift. It feels right now within a week. It's such an important week at this level, and I think they've got Luton away, Sheffield United, but obviously to start with this week, they've got Borough at home. So yeah, it feels like Luton are going to be in the thick of all these games. So huge, really.
No question about it. And I think with Sheffield United and Burnley, I think unless we put together a sort of monster run of kind of like 8 or 9 wins out of 10 games kind of thing, I don't think we'll pull away from Sheffield United and Burnley that quickly. Because I think they have got a style which is what I'd describe as low ceiling but high floor. Because both teams don't concede a lot of goals. You've got obviously the difference makers in goal in terms of Michael Cooper and James Trafford, where they can afford to concede a little bit of XG, concede a few chances because they know we've got goalkeepers who can bail them out. We've seen it again with Michael Cooper. We've seen it again with James Trafford in the FA Cup. Sorry, not in the FA Cup, in the game before the last one. They have got that ability to do that. And the top end of the pitch, obviously, people like Gus Hamer, Marcus Edwards joining as well. They've got players who can make things happen in that final third. But I still think, I think I said a couple of weeks ago, I thought Leeds and Sunderland for the top 2. I still think Sunderland will come back. I think the way they play, the recruitment they've done has been really good. But I still think it'll be a 4-horse race. I don't see any of them slipping away because I think we all have a style which will ensure we don't go on a terrible run of form. Sheffield United and Burnley will have some disappointing performances, but the fact, especially Burnley, because they don't concede goals, they're never really going to fall out of it, kind of thing. They're always going to either grind a 1-0, get the odd 0-0, decent result. They're always going to kind of be there and thereabouts for me, unless we're the team, for me, out the 4 who can pull away. I really do still believe that. I think we're the team with the least flaws by far, and I think we're the team with the highest ceiling by far. So really, if we can get into that zone.
Well, as Nigel says earlier, we owe Sunderland after when we did.
Of course.
They were top of the division. I'd obviously players available there, haven't they? They weren't as injury ravaged as they are now. The players there, and they were top of the division. And I think we all went up there thinking it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a real tough one. And we went up there, and I keep saying this for a few teams, to be honest. We went up there, and after the first 15 minutes, we took the ball off them for 80 minutes. They were talking about us afterwards being the fastest team that's come to the Stadium of Light, and they couldn't believe how good we were on that day. And look, it could have been a different result, but that's when both teams are maybe at the pomp a little bit, and Leeds were able to do what they were able to do. So, I agree with you. I think, look, folks, it's interesting because we're not going to be able to do a debrief until maybe earlier on next week at some stage. So it's interesting talking about Sunderland, but we could be coming on here with hopefully a bit of a different complexion, especially if some of the teams drop points. I think, I don't know. I agree with you, Oscar. I keep thinking maybe at points we'll pull away, and then I keep thinking, it's not consistent enough. It's not consistent enough, is it, for the other lot losing? They're not doing it enough.
Yeah, we do. To pull away, we can't just rely on the other teams dropping points, because I don't think they will. I think Burnley and Sheffield United have, they've not been you can't say you've watched Burnley and Sheffield United this season and thought, oh, that's a team that's going to finish top 2 and that's a team that's ready for the Premier League. They're not that type of team. Realistically, they're just not going to fall away horrifically. They might not finish top 2, but they're not going to completely collapse because of the way they play. Got experienced managers in there, quite a lot of experience in the dressing room. And it is what it is. But we're well capable of winning 8 out of 10 or 8 out of 11 or 8 out of 12, whatever way you want to put it. We're well capable of going on a run that can, sort of split us away from the other 3. I've no real doubt of that. It's just, can we? Because this week's a big week. It's a week where you can easily end up taking 1 or 2 points, and you can easily end up with 6 points. It's hard to say, in terms of where we're at, because last season we had these 2 teams, Watford away, drew, Sunderland at home, drew, and I'm thinking 2 points from the week.
I think it wouldn't. No, I agree with you. I think it's the nerves are now maybe a little bit more palpable as well, and I emphasise because we're getting into that stretch. But I think as it's what happened at the weekend, isn't it? And there is all of a sudden, this is what you get with Leeds United, a little bit of a even though there's so much of context that could be applied to it, it does feel that once again you need to get back on the horse and change that momentum around.
I just think it's on the horizon now, lads, isn't it? Like, it's not too long for the season ends. Like, the games come thick and fast. And I agree with what Oscar says there. The way the other three play football. They're not going to lose a couple of games in a row. We've seen Sheffield United, they've been scraping through. Burnley, they've been scraping through because of their brilliant defensive record. So I think these games are massive against Sunderland, and I think I said it on one of my streams that like this could be season defining, and I got called like, oh, that's a little bit over the top. But when you do apply context, well, like what you say, Connor, we're taking points off them now. They mightn't drop points for the rest of the season, and we mightn't either. So it's a massive, massive period. It's a chance for us to take points off them, which could be very valuable coming towards the end of the season if they're not slipping up. Like we've talked about Leeds, being unbelievable all season. Seems like we're still only 2 points. It only takes us tomorrow, to slip up, have one bad result away from home, and Sheffield United to win a game, and then, then we're all kind of quaking. So I do think they're massive games. They're really, really big ones. There's a chance to go down there, take points off them, and if we do, I'll be confident then that we can do it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you look successive games, Sunderland and Sheffield United. You win those two, back to back. You win those 2 games, and I know Oscar's saying right there, but you win those games.
Well, then all of a sudden you've got the gap.
Well, then that's what I mean. You're suddenly increasing that, aren't you? And we've played those 2 games so far this season, and I think obviously we did it. Maybe Leicester when we played them last season, it was close. At the King Power, maybe they didn't expect us to be like we were. I think we're pretty good that day. The King Power, that 1-0 win. Ipswich, we surprised them a little bit at the start of the season, didn't they? I think they surprised us as well, but it was close. I mean, it felt if that game had another 10 minutes, Ipswich were getting right back into that game. They were hunting us down, weren't they, in the last couple of minutes? But it has felt this season. And obviously you had those reverse fixtures where Leicester battered us and we beat them 3-1 still. And obviously the Ipswich game, it was an absolute colossal win for Leeds. But it does feel like those return games, I'm not maybe as worried about them. I'm more excited about them, to be honest with you. And I think it is just that gap. I mean, you look at Sheffield United now, they could go on to beat us, they could do, but this is the worst time for them to be playing, I think, Middlesbrough and Leeds in the best part of 7 to 10 days. They are looking shot. He's got to change some things around, whether or not that's Harmer going in the 10. I don't know what it is, but he's got to change some bits around there because they are looking like a wounded animal at the minute. So that's maybe one to keep an eye on. And yeah, Sunderland getting a few players back, Burnley getting Marcus Edwards into proceeding. It's going to be interesting to see. I'll just get into a few of the comments as well. Connor, do you think after Saturday, Joseph will get less games? I don't, mate. I think Daniel Farke probably sees it very differently to what the fan base has seen it as. I think he'll just be pretty happy with what's going on with Joseph. It's his first season. I don't think he's going to be panicking about it, to be honest with you. Ian says we still have a massive ace up our sleeve. That is it, isn't it, lads?
Yeah,
Goal
good point, yeah.
Leeds at 43. I think Burnley are at 28. I think the other two are on like 17 and 18. We repeat the commentary performance tomorrow. Nothing to worry about. Yeah, and a few people talking about the atmosphere. Jason said anyone can have a good defensive record when you don't take any risks at all. Hope Burnley don't go up. And then FFS says, based on what I've seen, it'll be a travesty if Sheffield United win this league. I don't know. I don't think that'll happen, but we'll have to wait and see. Right, well, lads, it's only been a short one today. It's around about 8 o'clock, so we'll leave it like that. We don't want to be rabbiting on too much. I've got content throughout the evening tomorrow on the channel, so make sure you check that out. Everybody watch on Instant Match Reaction, all that good stuff. Make sure you go check out Daz now. He's going live. Everybody go over there. Cheers, give it a little bit of a 1 Leeds raid, as the kids say nowadays. Oscar, cheers so much for joining me, mate. Daz, thanks as always. And
thanks very much, Connor.
Yeah, anytime, mate. And guys, let us know what you think in the comment section below after the fact. And we will see you in a bit. Cheers.